Hi, I'm Qiurong. I'm here to present our work, a discourse analysis of how period and fertility tracking app companies address Roe v. Wade overturn. The U.S. Supreme Court's landmark Roe v. Wade decision recognized a constitutional right to abortion. After this decision, people had the right to have abortion legally across the country. However, in 2022, the Supreme Court overturned the nearly 50-year precedent in Roe v. Wade, gave states the license to ban abortion. This had led to full bans on most abortions in 50 states as of March 2024. After the ruling, people are having growing concern regarding the privacy of period and fertility tracking apps. These apps collect user-sensitive health data related to menstruation and fertility, such as menstrual cycle start and end dates. Many people are concerned that their intimate health data in these apps could potentially be used against them in abortion-related prosecutions. Therefore, many users have chosen to discontinue using these apps. To retain their user base, some apps have issued public statements addressing privacy issues in the post-Roe context. Previous research in SIGCHI has investigated how period and fertility tracking apps companies communicate with their users about privacy through privacy policy. They found that existing policies often lack transparency and are not accessible to general users. They also identified inconsistency between some companies' policy and actual data practices. However, there is a lack of research on how companies utilize public statements addressing historical events like the overturn of Roe to convey their privacy stance to users. Public statements concerning privacy are a valuable yet overlooked data source within the SIGCHI community. In other fields such as business research, scholars widely utilize companies' public statements to investigate the company's stances on various topics and external communication discourses. In the case of privacy communication, while privacy policy often functions as a legal document outlining a company's liability, public statements are more accessible to the general public. As the two examples clue and flow statement shows, they often directly respond to users' privacy concerns and react to privacy-related events. In this paper, we aim to bridge this research gap by investigating how companies communicate their privacy stances through public statements addressing the overturn of Roe v. Wade. For data collection, we first identify relevant apps through the App Store and Google Play by searching keywords related to period and fertility tracking. We ended up with 42 apps in this step. Then we identified the official websites and social media accounts of these selected apps. During this step, we used the cross-referencing to verify the authenticity of these websites and social media accounts. Lastly, we conduct thorough browsing to identify statements related to privacy concerns after the overturn of the Roe v. Wade. We found that only 14 out of 42 apps we examined have issued public statements addressing privacy issues post-Roe, and our dataset includes 62 statements from 14 apps. In data analysis, we combine thematic analysis and discourse analysis. First, we read and got familiar with the dataset. Then we assign codes across the dataset. During this step, discourse analysis method was used. We used the Big D discourse tool and focused on how company statements reflect the deeper social, cultural, ideological, or legal context in which they are situated. Then we follow the typical procedure of thematic analysis to identify the overarching themes. We identified 9 primary themes in companies' privacy discourses. Community theme emphasizes the idea that the company and its users are part of a larger global community with shared interests, values, and goals. Empathy theme demonstrates how companies seek to connect with users on an emotional level, showing that they understand users' emotions and are responsive to their needs, concerns, and desires. User autonomy theme refers to how a company emphasizes giving users control over their own data and empowering users to act based on their own decisions. Human rights theme reflects the company's commitment to doing what is right and adhering to human rights. The transparency theme is about constructing an image of being open and honest about information related to the company's privacy policies and practices. Brand identity theme refers to the company's communication around its identity, values, and image. It reflects how the company shapes its perception of target audience. The technology feature theme refers to the company's strategic articulation of specific attributes characteristics, and functionalities of its technology that distinguish itself from competitors in terms of protecting user privacy. The business model theme refers to the company's articulation of how it creates, delivers, and captures values, and how its value creation strategies aligns with its commitment to user privacy. The legal compliance theme emphasizes the company's stance on adhering to relevant laws, regulations, and legal requirements in its operations. Having identified the non-core themes within the company's privacy discourses, we now turn our attention to the predominant framings within these discourses. Framings here are about how these themes are presented or contextualized to convey a particular message or perspective. By discussing the framing, we want to show how the 9 themes fit together to form a larger narrative around privacy. We found 2 predominant framings. The first one underscores integration of privacy with the company's core values, while the second focuses on the alignment of privacy with the company's business practices. Each framing interweaves a unique combination of themes. Next, I will explain the 2 framings and how they incorporate distinct themes to shape the discourse. In the first framing, companies emphasize that privacy is closely connected to their values. This reflects a user-centric and ethically responsible stance on privacy. Themes like community, empathy, user autonomy, and human rights often co-occur in this framing. The framing connects privacy with companies' other core values, emphasizing that privacy is not just a legal obligation but a fundamental part of their corporate identity. In this framing, figurative language is a widely used discursive strategy. Here is an example. As a company, we believe that your personal health data is just an extension of your body, and you have the full choice to determine how it is used. In this quote, the company used the metaphor of data being an extension of your body. This creates a link between the data ownership and bodily autonomy. The company emphasized their commitment to users' rights over their data by connecting privacy with fundamental human rights. The second framing is about how privacy is connected to companies' business practices. It emphasizes the operational and regulatory aspects of these companies. Themes like technology feature, business model, and legal compliance often co-occur in this framing, which demonstrate a business and technology-oriented focus. This framing highlights connections between companies' revenue generation strategies, technology feature, and privacy efforts, which aims to rebuild users' trust in their privacy practices by providing evidence and tangible explanations. The second framing often utilizes indirect persuasion as discursive strategy. Here is an example from natural circles. We charge a subscription in order to protect you and your data. Free apps need to make money, so many of them do so by sharing or selling their users' data to third parties for advertising. In this example, the company portrays subscription model as a means of protecting user data. By strategically establishing a link between the business model and the privacy practices, it seeks to assure its user that protecting user privacy aligns with the company's own interests. Like the figurative language and indirect persuasion I just talked about, we observed the extensive use of communication strategies in these statements. On the one hand, this helped to clarify intricate privacy concepts, making them more accessible to the general public. On the other hand, the sophisticated use of language and rhetoric can obscure the true intentions or commitments of the companies. This reflects a power asymmetry between the companies and users. Users are usually not equipped with the same level of linguistic resources and thus in a disadvantaged position. Government is also an important stakeholder in the privacy issues appearing on protecting tracking apps, especially considering the potential government requests for user data in these apps. Some previous power responsibility privacy framework placed organizations like companies and governments as power holders on the one end of the spectrum and users who expect responsible use of this power on the other end. However, our study reveals that power dynamics between user, companies, and government is more intricate than a simple division between power-holding entities and users. Many companies communicate their stance on potential government data requests in their statements, while some companies emphasize that they are law-abiding, socially responsible entities committed to cooperating with law enforcement. Some other companies seek to position themselves as protectors or guardians of user privacy against privacy violations from government. They try to portray themselves as allies to users in terms of privacy protection. This could potentially reduce users' feelings of vulnerability and influence how users perceive the power dynamics regarding the privacy landscape post-Roe. This narrative of companies as protectors might also shift users' concerns and skepticism from themselves more towards governmental actions. Lastly, I'd like to talk about why we need to care about companies' public responses to privacy events. This allows us to understand how significant events like Roe v. Wade's overturn influence privacy in real-world scenarios. Privacy is a complex and dynamic concept shaped by people's expectations, experience, and ongoing interaction among stakeholders. As one of the most influential stakeholders, a company's position on privacy events can significantly shape the privacy landscape, subsequently affecting how users understand and navigate privacy matters. Our study demonstrates that by examining the perspective of companies, we can gain a more comprehensive understanding of the privacy landscape post-Roe and dive into the dynamics among stakeholders. In addition, public statements provide a different perspective compared to privacy policy, as public statements usually directly address privacy events in a more dynamic, immediate, and accessible manner. Investigating companies' perspective does not mean endorsing their perspective. Rather, as HRCI researchers, we view this as a productive first step towards understanding every stakeholder's perspective on privacy. Thus, we can form a more holistic picture of user privacy landscape in the complex data environment nowadays. We have 3 takeaways for our presentation. First, public statements are a valuable data source for us to investigate how companies communicate with users about privacy. Second, we found that companies strategically highlight how their business practices and values are closely intertwined with their privacy commitment. Third, we discussed how narrative strategies in company discourse reflect and influence the power dynamics between the companies, users, and the government. I want to thank my collaborators and the reviewers for their valuable feedback, and thank you for watching this video. Please read our paper for more information.